A saint is a sinner who never gave up. And thank you all for joining. And so we'll have two readings. And so I'll do the first one and then I'll request Captain Joy to do the second one. So this is from the book Essence of Self-Realization by Paramhansa Yogananda. The chapter name is Sin is Ignorance. What is sin? Asked the disciple. Master replied, Sin is error, it is born of ignorance. Disciple asked, What is ignorance? What is error? Master replied, Ignorance is a lack of awareness of soul's realities and the substitution of this stream of delusion for those realities. Error is any action that is based on that misconception. Does not sin also mean breaking God's commandment? Yes, replied Yogananda, but ask yourself this. Why did God give mankind those commandments? It wasn't arbitrarily. And it certainly wasn't to keep us from finding happiness. And he continues, if one thinks of sin as breaking God's commandments, the thought then arises of God's anger and stern judgment. But the Lord is our very own. We are his children. Why should he judge us? It is we rather who judge ourselves when we imagine that anything we do is beyond forgiveness. But if we understand sin as error, we realize that our errors can be rectified. And referring then to his own guru, Paramhansa Yogananda continued, Sri Yukteswar used to say, as I wrote in Autobiography of Yogi, forget the past. The vanished lives of all men are dark with many shames. Human conduct is ever unreliable until man is anchored in the divine. Everything in the future will improve if you are making a spiritual effort now. I always like to remind people of the simple truth. A saint is a sinner who never gave up. Who never gave up. So now I'll request Captain Joy to again share.
Om Guru to all. This is from the essence of self-realization. Paramhansa Yogananda said often among church-going Christians, one hears the cry, "We are all sinners." One almost wonders if that isn't a boast. There is a distinction between Christianity and what I call churchianity. Christianity is the original teaching of Jesus. Churchianity is what his followers have made of that teaching. Jesus Christ was crucified once, but his teachings have been crucified daily since then by millions who claim to be Christians. Why think of yourself as a sinner? Oh, it may be all right sometimes in the name of humility, provided your attention is focused on the greatness of God and not on your meanness before Him. But why dwell on negativity and limitation? If you want to find something valuable that has been buried under a mud slide, won't you be thinking of that object even as you dig through the mud? If you concentrated only on the mud, you might lose sight of your very purpose in digging and abandon the search. Never count your faults. Just see that your love for God is deeply sincere, for God doesn't mind your imperfections, He minds your indifference. Thank you.
Thank you, Captain Joy. And again, continuing on the same subject as Masters guided us, I just read about this story in which Paramhansa Yogananda ji went to a revival meeting. I don't know what image comes to your mind. The image that comes to my mind is this big field where there's a stage and there are thousands of people, and then there is this person in front of microphone. during all these revival meetings, and they're trying to all also invoke the presence of God. And Master was saying there's something called churchianity, where people somehow change the teachings of Christ. In the same way, what happened when Yogananda ji was at one of the revival meetings, was this minister who was addressing these people said to all of them, "All of you are sinners, get down on your knees." And Yogananda ji just heard it, and he could not, yeah, then he looked around, and except him, everybody were there on their knees. And Yogananda ji said, "I would not want to accept myself as a sinner." And he added that it's an insult to the image of God in man. We all forget that, we all, like the reading said, we all sometimes focus on the sin and these aspects, on our own faults. But why not dwell on also the thought of that potential perfection in God? That's what Yogananda ji is trying to shift our minds to, I think. So if we all can somehow try to tune into that highest potential, when we have to go towards light, you can look at all the shadows, but if you just focus on the light and keep going, will we keep heading in that direction without getting distracted? I think, is it not similar, like Lahari Mashya said, "Banat banat banjai," and saint is a sinner who never gave up. So all of these incidents and stories, and they're just guiding us, focus on the light, and then that magnetism will help you to go more in that direction instead of focusing on these faults. And that, when that current of energy, like the Kriya Yoga technique, what it does, when it rises in the spine, all this, when ecstasy comes, everything else goes. This is one more thing Master wanted us to remember. So in the same way, when that current of joy, current of ecstasy come, all these small things, clingings also will rise with it. Don't associate yourself too much with these things. We have to be practical in our idealism, also at the same time keeping our focus more at the spiritual eye and the potential which our great masters have shown. Now also shifting our focus back to India, during that time, I think even earlier, in years, there was this trend in India of thinking too much about the word karma. Master used to say, sometimes in India people are like, "Oh, I can't do anything, it's my karma, I can't do anything." Also, there is this story where this disciple of Master Yogananda ji was rollicking, that he was usually always in this light-hearted mood. He was trying to make all others also be in this light-hearted state, and Master told him sternly that you need to have this calm reserve. Only then you can perceive the God's presence within, instead of always being on this superficial state. And then this disciple replied back telling, "What to do? This has become a long habit. I need your blessings." And Yogananda ji said, "God's blessings are there, my blessings are there. It's your blessings that are needed." So how true it is. And now again, it's always this learning between East and West, right? Now in America, this teachings of Christ. So Yogananda ji is trying to bring in that, infuse in that sense of that Divine Mother, and how God is also that personification of love, and at the same time to bring in this attitude of that we are all made in the image of God, and not to view ourselves as sinners. In the same way in India, he's trying to take away that notion of that, don't think karma as this. Karma is just an action, is what he says. If something can be done, it also can be undone by your future actions and by your present actions, like Yukteswarji explained. And he loved this attitude of Americans, is what he said. That if there's something that somebody has done it, Americans think this way, that yeah, if he has done it, I can also do it. We can do it. And if something impossible is to be done, if nobody has done it, they say, let's anyway do it. It may take us a little longer. And then also this one expression also he loved very much. Eventually, why not now? I think by combining these two, looking at the best of both worlds, also seeing ourselves as image of God, and keep trying or putting out that self-effort, which draws grace. It said self-effort draws grace. So whenever we put out that self-effort, it draws the grace. And do you all happen to know the story of this person who had diabetes? I think some of you might know, I'm going to still repeat it, that this person was advised by a doctor that he has 3 months to live. And what did this person do? I have only 3 months to live, like our 15 minutes of meditation or 12 minutes, whatever we did. Even in that time, our mind used to waver off. And I used to keep telling, please come back. It's now here. Reveal thyself. In the same way, this person had 3 months to live and he said, okay, let me meditate. He started with few minutes, few hours. And then somehow by meditating, also he realized this 3 months extended to almost an year. He was able to increase his meditation, increase his devotion to God. And then by the end of year, he was able to even meditate up to 18 hours a day. And then it kept on increasing, and at the end of around 3 years, he went into the state of ecstasy, and the light of God had come to him. And when he came out of that state, he realized his illness had gone. And he said to God, Lord, I did not pray for the illness to be gone, but I asked for your presence. And the Lord replied, where my light dwells, where my light is, no darkness dwells. Where my light is, no darkness dwells. So seek ye first the kingdom of God. And this saint also wrote on the sand, on this day, the Lord came into this broken temple and made it whole. How true it is that it's the birds have a nest, the animals have a place to rest, but the Son of God or man, he becomes whole when he feels this, when he merges with the divine. This is a teaching from the Bible. So in the same way, we have to keep striving to keep aiming towards this direction. And also, I realized today is also happy Lori, Makara Sankranti, and all this festival wishes to all of you. I think each and every festival has this also this significance and spiritual significance. So also I was just tuning into it, what really happens at this time of the year. Also, it's the Uttarayana, where the sun starts heading in the other direction. Also, as we all realize, Earth is not like this; it's little slanted, tilted. So that's the reason. Also, I understand that it's the seasons change from when Earth starts revolving around the sun. It's the now the shift happens where the also in the astrologically it moves to a Makara, the Capricorn. Sun moves into that house. Also, the inner sun is the spiritual eye. So also at this time of the year in the northern hemisphere, for the people in the northern hemisphere like India, and so what happens is we come out of the winter and start slowly heading towards the sun. Also in the time of winter, it's more inward time. Now is the time again to regenerate, also to put out that energy, even outwardly as well as inwardly, with more vigor, moral vigor, and God's blessings. So as we celebrate these festivals, also remember the significance that there is upsurge of energy as the seasons change, and we'll be able to put out more. There's more daylight, and to all do your seva activities as well as to dive more in the divine. So also, it's almost like 2 weeks after the new year. I was looking at Google, fascinated by how the resolutions work. So we all know this saint is a sinner who never gave up. And during resolutions, I think many of you attended the workshop. It said about how I think one of the suggestions was maybe have this, try to go deeper in these teachings, try to increase the yearning for God, devotion. And according to this study I read, it said that by 2 weeks' time, which is around the time now after the new year, 25% of people give up on their resolutions. I think we can just somehow, but I think on the spiritual path, we have all these festivals and everywhere which will help us to inspire again when we see it in the right spirit to going towards that goal. So whatever it is, just try to know that each and every these moments in the time also help us in this upsurge of energy, and just trying to tune in to also this aspect so that we can keep going ahead. I'll also like to share this story of also the Tarakeshwar. In the sense, I don't know how many of you remember Paramhansa Yogananda ji as a young boy. One day, to his guru Yukteswar ji said, "I'm going to go to the Himalayas mountains." This was even like about 6 months in the time he was in the ashram. He said that I would want to go to Himalayas and spend in solitude. And Yukteswar ji tried to give him a hint that you won't find realization in mountains than from a man of realization. But Yogananda ji, I think he was also playing his role, and so he took his luggage and he started. He asked the Sanskrit tutor about Ram Gopal Mazumdar, who stayed in Ranbajpur near Tarakeshwar. So he set out on this journey. And I'll just little fast forward, but also hear the story. You all remember Tarakeshwar, which where he does not bow, and then this person tries to guide him in wrong directions. It almost takes him a day more. This one more krosha never comes. This 2 mile never comes because he keeps going off in wrong direction. And then finally, when he meets Ram Gopal Mazumdar, he tells him, "Why, little sir, did you not bow down to the uh, idol at Tarakeshwar? Don't you think God exists also in everything, not only within you and all around you?" And then he realizes that, and that once we realize that oneness with God, whatever our narrow paths is, sometimes it can become narrow, a spiritual path. Only this is my thing, but also the yearning for God, and everybody are trying to seek that one divine thing. And in this story, why I wanted to narrate to you was. Because Yogananda ji gets to know that Ram Gopal Mazumdar ji, he was meditating from 45 years. For first 20 years he meditated like, maybe 18 hours, and then last 25 years for 20 hours a day. And Yogananda ji felt little astonished, because when Ram Gopal Mazumdar ji was still telling, after all these years also, the realization how it came, and also he was astonished at the fact that even after doing all these years, have you not won Lord's favor, sir? He asked him. And then what Ram Gopal Mazumdar ji replied is very interesting. So let me see if I can find it. His words is much more beautiful. So I'm just finding those words. Well, don't you see, my dear boy, that God is eternity itself? To assume that one can fully know Him by 45 years of meditation is rather a preposterous expectation. Babaji assures us, however, that even a little meditation saves one from dire fear of death and after-death states. Do not fix your spiritual ideal on a small mountain, but hitch to it the star of unqualified divine attainment. If you work hard, you will get there. If you work hard, you will get there. I just like, for me, the last sentence. If you work hard, you will get there. Because all other things can go over my head. All other things. But what can we do? We can keep one step in front of the other. And we can keep striving so that we can continue to work hard. We can continue to go in that direction of light. Continue in that state of joy. Continue in that state of willingness. When we start going in that direction, everything else, God's grace will come. You'll attract the right company, and you might have seen in your own spiritual path, I don't know how long you have been, how much ever time it is, you just see the progress you have made. In the same way, keep going in. We have the God's and Guru's blessings are there. Your blessings are what are needed. And also, have you heard about this in this example which Master gives about a boxer A and boxer B? Let's say you have a challenge or something happening, and you're in a state where you can face it. Then you have been facing this for years. It's like a boxer A and boxer B in a boxing ring. So you all, it's like there are 10 rounds, and you have been going in this combat for many rounds. Many times he has beaten you and you have still gotten him. And the many times you have been in the state of joy, state of calmness, and state of peace when the desire when it has not been able to touch you. And finally this final round has come, the 10th round, and the A and B are competing, hitting each other. And Master says, just that attitude, if this boxer A have that attitude of boxer A, which says, I have within me one more punch to give, like one more step, I can just give one more step, I can keep hitting in one more step. And then when both A and B are so done, but still if you have that attitude, let me give one more punch at this, or let me keep one more step ahead in life, keep going, I don't give up. And then this person, this boxer A, gives that one punch and boxer B is knocked out. In the same way, sometimes the karma is like this, but soon you realize at a point it will come here where you can face it. And then somehow, with God's grace and willingness, just keep going one more step, one more punch, one more step ahead, and you'll be able to face any problems. And also, you'll have to be practical in your idealism. Many times, there are many challenges. So maybe aim for the ones you can really deal with now. And sometimes you have to keep some things on the shelf. And then with the Kriya and other practices, the energy will keep flowing strongly. And when you realize one day, when ecstasy comes, everything else goes. A saint is a sinner who never gave up. So I think if you could take anything, just take that sentence with you, and just remember on this occasion of this festival, also the other things, God and Gurus are always with us, trying to support us in our journey. And I would like to just, maybe we'll just close with a small visualization. So close your eyes. Just bring your awareness to the spiritual eye. Feel that you're able to calm your emotions at your heart or feelings in the heart. Focus on the breath. A saint is a sinner who never gave up. Just at the spiritual eye, feel God, Master's eyes, Yoganandaji's eyes there. Him blessing you at that point, and at the heart center, infusing you with their energies, their love. To whatever extent we can realize that we are made in the image of God, ever new joy, we are made in that image. Feel that joy in the heart. Feel that joy infusing all the body cells from toes to the head. All the cells are vibrating with that joy. Try to expand this joy as if a bubble of joy is a bubble of light. Feel it expanding, filling your entire room, your house, your neighborhood, your city, your country, the entire planet. In that state of joy, we see the oneness with the creation. We are all the children of God. Masters are here to protect us. Give us the strength to rise up to any challenge we have. And now, feeling that joy, let's rub our hands 3 times and share this joy with the entire planet, with all the ones who are seeking this, and sharing our blessings that we have received. Let's chant Om 3 times. Keeping your hands in that position, continuing to radiate that joy, that peace. And offer up the gratitude of prayer for bringing us on this path. Om Guru. So, also at all the centers, when you go in person, they also say go out with joy. I'm going to repeat those words: go out with joy wherever you're going. Just share that infectious joy with everyone, whomever you meet.